All right. It's part 2 of the weekly Q&A. If you didn't see it already, make sure you go on the channel and check out part 1. Yeah, answer some questions there. Some more are going to be answered here and now. So if you want your questions, just as a reminder, to be answered in future Q&As, make sure you follow the show on Twitter. And then, of course, make sure you smash that subscribe button if it's your first time ever checking out a video here. Or if it's not your first time and yet you kind of the way you come back, like, come on, subscribe. Do it. Do it now. All right, so let's see if I can get through all these questions. King James 097 is going to kick us off. What are your thoughts on Randy Orton now? He's a much nicer guy nowadays, willing to put people over, and ultimately did what John Cena or God wouldn't do, and that's put over Mark motherfucking Henry for his first world title. First off, we got to do it right. It's Mark motherfucking Henry. Second, fuck Randy Orton. Nicer guy. Again, it's too late. Damage is already done. SBear504. Hogan, Flair, Triple H, or Austin. Who would win in a contest of backstage politics? Flair did too many jobs over the years. Like, no. So he's out immediately. Out. So you're down to Hogan, God, and Austin. Like, I mean, that's interesting, though. You didn't throw, like, HBK or Bret Hart in there. Like, those are some master politicians, too. Like, we got to be honest here. I might go with Austin. People always want to talk about Hogan and his politics, and they were certainly there. They want to talk about Triple H and his politics. But Austin could just be downright fucking impossible to do business with and unwilling to put people over in some shape or form. Like, always it'd be some type of bullshit or something. I might go with Austin, man. Really. Joseph Moran, why are people crying about The Fiend getting buried when Bray Wyatt always gets out of being in that spot? Yeah, at this point in time, I don't even know why it fucking matters. Like, who cares? Most all those characters are irrelevant, so what difference does it make? I mean, he did get buried. Like, that crap at WrestleMania was freaking stupid. That was terrible. But he hadn't even been around since, so who the hell cares? KON Gaming HD. WCW 2001 pulled in higher ratings and numbers than WWE does in its current environment. Should there be a major wake-up call to fans and even a dying WCW that was unable to get a TV deal, despite the current day WWE having one with bad rating? You lost me there a little bit with the wording of the question, but I think what you're trying to say, should it be a wake-up call that a dead, dying WCW back in 2001 going head-to-head against Monday Night Raw was doing better numbers than what Monday Night Raw is doing now? Sure, some of that is a reflection of changing viewer habits. A lot of that is a reflection of WWE changed viewers' habits. So, yeah, it's kind of sad and kind of pathetic. Now, some fans will always make an excuse about that. Oh, it's people aren't watching the whole shows anymore, and they're not doing this, and they're not doing that. They're not doing this, and they're not doing that because the shows fucking suck. That's why. Mr. Jinx05. Which era severely damaged the WWE from a fan interest perspective? Hulkamania, Austin 316 era, God's Reign of Terror, the Age of Orton, John Cena's Decade of Doom, or the Tribal Chiefs' Roman Empire? Really? How dare you slander the Tribal Chief like that, the head of the table? There's to you. The hell's that? What damaged it from a fan interest perspective is John Cena's Decade of Doom. Splash Bro Kieran. When you look at how over Monty Brown got in TNA, assuming Vince would get over the obvious, do you think even Triple H or Cena would have put him over? No. No. When they brought in Monty Brown, they could have done big things with him, and they chose not to. So, no. B.W. Rosas. I've been in the mood to watch Andre the Giant lately, matches and all, even the HBO doc. Truly the greatest to lace them up. My questions are, when do you first see Andre, and what was your reaction to him? Have you seen the HBO documentary on him, and did you like it? First time I saw him in person was when I was 6 years old. You know, fucking massive human being. Scared the shit out of me seeing him in person. First time probably saw him on TV about 5, 6 years old. Same thing, scared the shit out of me. Even when he was a good guy because he was so freaking huge. HBO documentary is very good. I thought it did him a decent amount of justice. Greatest is relative. Is he absolutely one of the biggest household names in wrestling history? You goddamn right he is. Like, he's been dead for almost 30 years, and when you say the name Andre the Giant, like, people's eyes perk up, their ears perk up, and they know what you're referencing. Even people that weren't born until the mid or late 90s or even after that. When you say Andre the Giant, they usually know who the hell you're talking about. DeMarcus Flowers. Which match result pissed you off the most? Triple H beating Booker T at WrestleMania 19? Or the Memphis mid-card piece of crap Yathaniel beating Monty Brown at Final Resolution 2005? That second one. Because Booker T was never going to be the dude for an extended period of time in WWE. Monty Brown could have been that dude for TNA. And that slapnuts, that breaking 10,000 guitars, never drawing a goddamn dime, motherfucking Memphis mid-card piece of crap ruined it! Triple H beating Booker T at 19 sucked. It was stupid. It was shit. The other one bothers me immensely still to this day. The Mox Guy. Why have people gone soft for Cena? Did they forget he was a big factor for the crap state the wrestling business is in at the moment? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. As time goes along, you tend to soften a little bit, and you tend to remember things a little differently. I'll give you a perfect example. Like when George W. Bush left the Oval Office on January 20th, 2009, his approval ratings absolutely sucked. And you've seen over a decade plus as distance and time creates some barriers, some separation from the reality of the disaster of the Bush years to now Bush is painting and all of this and goes and Jimmy Kimmel and so forth and puts on a smiling face and people see him with Michelle Obama and they think this is all cute. Like, people get softened up to George W. Bush a little bit and forget about the incredible turd sack he was as a president. Similar type of concept here. People let the nostalgia, for whatever reason, blind them. They forget about the actual realities. That's what I compare it to. EJ Dennis 96. When was the last time you could say you enjoyed an episode of Raw from beginning to end? I don't fucking know. It's got to have been a few years. That's sad. The Team Forward. Should Alexa Bliss go back to being the goddess or stick with her current gimmick? I don't give a shit one way or another, frankly. Honestly. Nick Willis, PNW. How pissed would you be if they just ended up bringing in Malachi Black to feed to the Cody Rhodes monster? And how many more people would they have to bring in just to bury before you start to assume the Cody Rhodes position? No, got to come up with something different for that piece of crap. No one gimmick infringement. Like, you got to have separation of those. Pissed. It's not like I'm a huge Malachi Black, Aleister Black, Tommy End fan, so I wouldn't say that it pissed me off. Would it surprise me if they brought him in just to job out to Cody? Oh, fuck no. Would it annoy me? Sure. But everything about Cody is fucking annoying, so what's the difference? G Willsy01. What is the one storyline aside from Austin versus McMahon that helped WWF/E during the Monday Night Wars? You could point to Brett versus Shawn. You could point to Rock and Mankind, like Taker Kane, Austin Rock. Like, I don't know if there's one that I would pick outside of Austin McMahon, like in terms of next up on the rankings. Diclonius Games, is there one moment from WWE history that you could, if there was one moment from WWE history that you could erase from existence forever, what would it be? The invasion angle. Because I would hope that somehow, some way, some of the idiots in professional wrestling that weren't Vince would have been able to figure out a way to come up with $5 million to buy the fucking company, talking about WCW specifically, and then find a TV home for it. Because even he just bought the video library, even without a ton of distribution network. You were still in somewhat of an internet age, even back in 2001. You would have made your money back many times over. So it's probably that one. Mikey Messier. Is there any reason to watch the WWE on a weekly basis when just watching the monthly pay-per-views will succinctly catch you up on the storylines and provide you all the payoff matches in the 3-hour serving without having to suffer through a month of bad TV? You know, Mikey, it's not the worst suggestion in the world, because you're right. And that's a big problem, too. Like, there's so many problems you go through. They're infinite. But easily the biggest problem is that if you don't watch a show for a week, you don't feel like you missed a damn thing. You don't. Z Visions. What are your thoughts on Triple H's wrestling career, management aside? One of those 5-tool type of guys was never an Austin or Rock level dude. More that second tier main eventer, but legit main eventer, legit star for a number of years. Sometimes underrated, certainly at times massively overrated. All of that could be true for God. Mojo_Jojo1104. Thoughts on Ponytail Brock? I saw this and whatever. The Meat Samurai. Mo Benny 99. What's your thoughts on UFC MMA? Are you a fan of it? And do you ever watch a show or a pay-per-view? Like 10 years ago, I tried getting into it, tried watching it for a little bit. That shit was boring. I'm like, I already watched one form of entertainment or one form of combat action where they massively underpay the talent in WWE or just wrestling as a whole. Why would I then want to do a second one with UFC? It's not my jam. It just isn't. And that's okay. Not everything has to be. Vinny E_21. Do you think Raw will be any better with crowds coming back? And how do you think Roman will incorporate the audience during his promos now? The second one will be interesting because I'm really curious to see how the fans in person, real life, will actually react to him. The first part of your question, why would the crowds make Raw any better? If the characters suck, the stories suck, the writing sucks, fans can't fix that. They just can't. Apurv Shankar asks, final question for this. Who in the grand scheme of things has been more significant for the WWE? Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin? One's a racist, one's a wife beater. Let's get that out of the way. So now you're just judging them strictly off of wrestling. It's Hogan, and it's not even fucking close. Hogan was the guy during the national, international expansion. Hogan made far more money for that company than Austin could have ever dreamed to. Austin was incredibly white hot during his time when he was that dude, don't get me wrong. Like, Austin was a fucking megastar. But when you think about the grand scheme of things, who's been more significant for WWE? The foundation was Hogan. It's Hogan, by far. By far. All right, well, we've reached the end of the Q&A. I thank all of you that asked your questions this time. Make sure you go back and watch part 1 if you haven't done so already, because if you asked a question, I may have answered it there. Other than that, thank you guys for your continued viewership, support, hate, all of it. Love it. I'll talk to you later.